All right, welcome everybody. I'm Val Hart, the real Dr. Doolittle, animal communicator to the stars, best-selling author, and founder and host of the Animal Talk Coaching Club. This is a really cool show. So I just want you to know I am here interviewing my professional colleagues. I started this series because my goal and my vision, my dream is to reach 1 million animal lovers around the world to help you understand how to connect and communicate with your animal, how to hear their voice, how to help them heal, how that they can improve your own life. So I'm interviewing my professionals, and we're bringing our stories to you. We want to bring you into our world so you can see what we see, hear what we hear, feel what we feel when we connect and communicate with animals. The reason that's important is because we truly believe that animals are angels, they're teachers, they're healers and guides. And when we learn to recognize, respect, and revere them for the spiritual beings that they truly are, then they help us become better people. So, come into our world. Are you ready? I have a great guest for you today. Her name is Angelo. You see, I haven't completely memorized her bio, so let me help myself with that, my notes. Anne is an animal communicator colleague. She's wonderful. Her work has evolved into a melding of animal massage, animal Reiki, using essential oils, prayer, music, and she also has a background as a licensed clinical social worker, so she's really good at helping people as well as animals. All of her animals have inspired her, as I'm sure they have you, and I certainly hope as you, because I know me too, but they've inspired her. And she's created a very special children's album that includes a melding of all of these topics to help children know how to connect and communicate and be with animals in a healthy working relationship. She also has a really cool, heartwarming story about a stuffed dog, a little toy stuffed dog that she met when she was only 2 years old that changed the course of her whole life. And she's going to tell us that in a minute. So welcome, Anne. I'm delighted to have you. Thanks for
Thank
joining me.
you. Thank you
Awesome.
so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to be here.
me too. I know you have a puppy dog in the background, so maybe yours and mine can play together a little while.
Yeah.
We'll have a play date. We're going to talk about animal communication, animal massage, children's music, essential oils, and that stuffed brown dog that I can't hardly wait to hear about. But to get us started today, tell us, why did you decide to become an animal communicator? What made you decide to do this?
Okay, well, I was invited to an animal communication course. The teacher was Amelia Kincaid. She's a wonderful animal communicator. She has some books and those types of things. And I was invited to go to the course, actually by my mother. And when she said what the course was and what it was going to be about, it was just like a light bulb went off in my head, and this connection was made to me saying, oh, that's what I do already. And I just never had put it into words or even thought about it in sort of a sentence and spoken about it. So when that happened, I said, sure, and I went to the class, and it was great, and I was communicating with animals right away, and I realized that I've been doing this since I was a child. I remember my cat Dolly, that I communicated with her when I was a small child, and at the time that I went to that course, I was sort of a starting out social worker. I'd been in maybe the field a few years, and I was already really burnt out and really tired. I've been in some really intense social work positions, and had already started looking for alternate ways to sort of deal with stress. I'd also been very close to New York City during 9/11, and just had gone to some Reiki classes and done maybe my first Reiki level. And so I was already kind of getting into these things, holistic healing, but then it seemed to really all come together when it involved the animals for me. And the wisdom of the animals was just so amazing to me and just drew me right in and just felt so natural to me that I just kept pursuing it. And although I had the basic of it and I could communicate with animals, I did continue to take courses and learn how to teach a class myself. And so it was to help myself a little bit. And then also, I wanted to try to find another way to help people. And I feel like animals are a doorway to help
Right.
people.
Yeah, I totally get that. And they are. They totally are the way to help people. I know so many of my clients, they'll come to me and they think it's a problem with their animal, and when we get into it, it's not the animal's issue. It's really not their stuff. It's
Right.
like they drug their person in so the
Mhm.
person could get some help. Their person is stressed or I know you're probably familiar with the concept of the human animal body mind connection where animals mirror and reflect
Mhm.
their people. They carry our stuff for us a lot of times, or
Yeah.
they will reflect it back to us like a little
Mhm.
mirror going, here, let me act it out so you can see it better.
Right.
Maybe you
Yeah.
can deal with it that way better. But and they're
Yeah.
often so relieved when we finally
Definitely.
get it. And so, yeah, I get
And that
that.
was a huge motivation for me because when I started to realize that, that some of the things that my animals were experiencing were because of really me not being aware of them, it turned my life in a whole nother direction of wanting to be aware
Yeah,
and self-aware and staying on
right,
top of these things. And yeah, I mean, they really turned my life upside down in a
right.
good way.
Well, and speaking of turning your life upside down, we got to hear the story about the stuffed brown dog. So tell
Oh
us that.
yeah. He's actually here. This is Tiger.
Oh, that's so cute. Let's see it. Bring
He's
her up. Bring her up.
he's been through some
Ah,
things, as you can see.
look
He's had some things happen in his life, a few
at
baths, a few surgeries in the
Oh my
bathroom.
gosh. Oh,
Um, but he's still with me.
that's
So
awesome. I love it.
yeah, and Tiger, when I was 2 years old, I was in a children's clothing store with my parents, obviously, and I picked up Tiger, and I guess the story is I was not letting him go, and some nice lady who worked in the store saw this, and I guess she picked up on this bond, and she said, "Oh, just let her have him." So I took him home, and we were inseparable. He has a wife. Her name is Blanky, but that's another story.
Sorry for
um,
another day. Okay.
but Tiger, he was my dog, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to have a dog growing up. My father had some unfortunate incident happen with a dog that he had, and I think he was just afraid to open himself up again to getting another dog. But we
Yeah.
did have cats, and it was a dream of mine. I'd go through the newspaper every Sunday when we did things in the newspaper, and I'd try to circle all the potential dogs that could be adopted, and then they'd say, no, we're not getting a dog. So finally, when I did get a dog, my dog's name was Misha, and she was my first dog. And it felt fated. It felt like Tiger had been in my life all those years as sort of a precursor, sort of the spark had been lit with Tiger. And I think I might have named him Tiger because the Brady Bunch, that's the only thing I can think because I hear a dog named Tiger. Can't imagine why else I would have done that.
A dog named Tiger. Cool.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that was his name. But so I got Misha, and I think he kind of, Tiger sort of, it was just all, things are all connected, and we learn that, especially through the animals. And I think that that incident in the children's store and having Tiger all my life, I mean, we were inseparable. And I think it just kind of laid the groundwork for me wanting to have my companion, my dog. So Misha was such a blessing. Beautiful dog, wonderful soul, and a shelter dog. And ended up inspiring me to continue to. I had some cats that also pushed me towards animal communication. But as time went on, Misha kept to be the catalyst, and she inspired me just to. She brought out in me a love of massage, wanting to put my hands on an animal and work on them. And she also brought forth this album, the Misha Songs album.
Yeah, we want to hear about that because that sounds awesome, and it's for kids.
Yes, yeah, and that album to me is an animal communication album, um, because the songs on it they came from being so connected to Misha, and it was like I was singing, by singing and bringing forth this music, I was bringing out Misha. The songs just, they're her energy. Um, so the album really was inspired by her story too. One of the songs on the album just talks about how she was born in Tennessee, and how she ended up coming up to the north. But it's her tale, quote unquote. Excuse the pun. It's her story. Um, so yeah, and the album to me, yeah, it's got songs on it that help children. I hope sort of inspires them to connect with that part of them that's so natural to communicate with animals. I do think that most of us have it in us to do that, and unfortunately, as the years go by, society doesn't really teach us about it. Hopefully, with things like this, what you're doing, it will become the norm. But there's
Thank
songs
you.
on the album that just try to help children recognize that within themselves, that they have this connection with animals.
I love that. I know so many of us, we have the connection with animals when we're young, when we're little.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we grow up, society starts talking us out of what we already know. It's like we start being taught that no, animals can't think, and they don't, have reasoning, and they whatever, and they're dumb and not real sentient or intelligent. It's like just because they don't have vocal cords like ours and they don't speak a language like we do and all that stuff, then they get discounted as somehow less than. And we often will block off our ability and forget even how to connect. So I know animals were hugely important in my young, as I grew up, they saved my life
Mm-hmm.
more than once. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really important. So if you get into them now and encourage and inspire, and we don't ever shut that gift off, we don't ever close it down or suppress it. Oh my God, what a difference that would make in our whole world.
Oh, absolutely. It's just that's kind of my dream, is to think that if all
Yeah.
children were raised to know that animals can communicate and know it's okay to hone that skill and talk about it, it would change the world. It would.
It would. It totally would
Hmm.
change the world. All right. So, how do you use essential oils in your practice? Can you talk about that just a touch?
Yeah. I stick with a certain kind, Young Living essential oils, and those oils to me are transformative. If I'm tuning in with an animal and I sense an energy block, I will grab the oil that feels right. Certain oils are geared towards certain emotional issues and physical issues, but a lot of what I do is just intuitively, what does this animal need? Or I'll hear, grab this type of oil. Um,
Mhm.
so I use it to clear energy, to help boost animals, to support them in any way basically that they need. So it can be a physical or emotional issue.
Good. Okay. I know a lot of people love oils. I do. I use them myself, and it can be a little tricky, and some different, different tips and stuff on how to use them. That's not completely the point of our talk today, but I want to bring you back so you can teach us.
Yeah, I love
But
talking about the oils. Yeah, and
yeah,
I
me
use them
too.
all the time too. So.
Okay. So let's bring you back and we'll talk about oils. But I want to keep going here. What do you think the biggest lesson is that Misha taught you about animals? What do you think the biggest lesson is?
You know, the biggest lesson to me that, and not just, well, about animals in particular, would be that if you just stick with them and just keep at it, keep pursuing, bring them out of their, not out of their shell, but if they're presenting a certain way and they have some issues, which she did because she'd been through quite a bit. I mean, she was
Uh-huh.
really
Uh-huh.
scared when I got her,
Yeah.
very anxious and very defensive. If you just stick with it, amazing, amazing things can come to be. I mean, I don't know
Mm.
if I would have. continue. I don't know if I would have gone on to do animal massage if it weren't for Misha. It's
Wow.
just she was used in a way, and I do feel that for me, I have a strong faith, and I believe that God put us together for a reason.
Yeah.
It gave me the want to put my hands on her, but to know in depth, her body, and to learn more about her systems, and to study that in depth, so I could really make a difference. So an animal can just, if you just stick with an animal, um, the gifts that can come of that are just, you just don't know until you give them a chance, especially, of course, shelter animals.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You never know who you're living with until you connect
Mm-hmm.
and open those channels so they can tell you and bring in that, the best master teachers, the most profound epiphany moments that I've ever really had have often come from animals. And
Yeah,
master
absolutely.
teachers disguised as an animal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
um, can you teach our audience a simple technique that they can use when they're practicing animal communication?
Hmm. So, of course, when I prepare to talk to an animal, I want to get centered. I want to shake off any negativity I might be carrying around, or just kind of collect through the day. So I make sure to get centered and grounded. I use sage and oils and things like that. And then I just get into a meditative state. And I encourage people to do whatever it takes to do that. I even listen sometimes to relaxation CDs and things like that. So other people are kind of guiding me through it, because sometimes our brains can get very distracted, and it can be sometimes
Yeah,
difficult to meditate. So let
yeah.
somebody else help
Especially,
you through it.
yeah, I find especially for beginning students or people who are not real familiar with meditation, it's like they're still in a rush, hurry up,
Yeah.
and so they're going inward, quieting their mind's supposed to be right, and they're thinking it's like crazy, and
Exactly. Yeah.
and then they
Hmm.
get all freaked out, and they're it's like, well, hurry up already and get quiet, and
Yeah.
nothing's happening, this isn't working, and
Yeah.
it's like, wait a
And
minute,
once
the
you're
point is
there,
to
yeah,
unravel
that's kind of the
and
hurdle.
be
It's just
present. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Mhm. And so
yeah,
once you get into that state, I would say, like, sometimes even this happens to me still, if I don't get the response that I expect right away from an animal, I think it
yeah,
should just happen. And a lot of times it does happen that way. There is just a knowing, but
yeah,
sometimes it doesn't. And what the animals have told me to talk about today is to just wait a second. We're so rush in this society. Everything is bam, 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 bam. So when you ask an animal a question, if you don't get that response right away, don't freak out. Don't psych yourself out and say, I didn't get it. And just take just a few more seconds and just wait and see what comes. Because oftentimes something will come. And sometimes some of the best information I get is it happens like that.
yeah. I understand. I when I first started, and I know you'll appreciate this. When I first started, I would get these really powerful communications, and all my conscious mind could understand was like the little tip of the iceberg. It's like I knew I got something, but then it took me quite a while to unravel the whole thing so that I could actually understand it. There's so many nuances and flavors and subtleties and experiences and images and thoughts and feelings and beliefs, and it's like this a whole communication that just got put right into my being, in my heart,
Exactly,
and it
yeah.
would take me time to sort the whole thing out and really make sense of it. I couldn't, and I've discovered I couldn't rush that. I needed to just sit with it, breathe, be with it, allow it, almost like the blossoming of a flower, to
Right.
let that come open. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said it. What was a lesson Misha taught me? I guess part of that also is what a lesson that repeatedly comes up for me all the time with the animals, and it has to do with this very point, is listening to each other. So not even just animals, but loving each other people enough to sit with them and listen and wait. We are so rushed these days, and these emails going back and forth in text, and So if we just take a few seconds and wait and listen, that's what the animals have been saying a lot to me lately. It's a lot of this has they want to teach us is about loving everybody. You know, even if we don't like people's behavior sometimes, allowing ourselves to love them.
Yeah, I think to love them, to be with them, to accept them for who they are, and that's true with the animals too, right? And other people and all that stuff,
Well,
and
they accept
ultimately,
us.
yeah, ultimately loving ourselves,
Yeah,
right? To
exactly.
be fully present enough to know our truth. Yeah,
Exactly, yeah. If they
yeah.
can
So you're right.
tolerate us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I love that. That's a really good point. I know a lot of my beginning students also, and even the advanced ones like us, yeah, we tend to get in a bit of a rush, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
hurry, and I've got a thousand things to do today. Tell me what you need to tell me in 2 seconds, and then let's move on. It doesn't
Yeah,
work that way. It's really about coming back to center and being fully present.
yeah.
And you don't do that in your head. You do it in your heart,
Right.
in your energy. So
Hmm.
I think hopefully that'd be very helpful for our students as well. Take an extra minute. If you don't think you're getting anything, I bet you are. In fact,
Hmm.
I know 100% that you are.
Yeah.
You have to clear yourself and be present enough to even notice what you just got, because sometimes it's really subtle. It's a
Yeah.
feeling, it's a impression, it's a direction, it's a, it's you have to be open enough to hear it. So anyway, did you have something special you wanted to mention before we finish up here today?
Oh, well, I have a podcast, so if people want to hear more about sort of what I do with animals, and also I'm interviewing people on my podcast as well, so it's an opportunity to hear from different people in the animal field, um, even dog trainers. I try to connect everything back to sort of a holistic approach to animal care, including and a lot to do with animal communication. Feel free to go to my website, intuitivetouchanimalcare.com. That has a link to the podcast on Libsyn, it's called, but you can also go right to iTunes and look for Intuitive Touch Animal Care website. And those are
Awesome.
free podcasts that you can listen to.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Ann. Thanks for doing that work as well. It's really important. Okay. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being on the show today. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've had a great time in sharing our heart and our world and our lessons and our learning and all our experience as best we can with you today. This is an episode of the Real Dr. Dolittle Show, also a podcast on iTunes. I'm your host, Val Hart. And if you've enjoyed the show, if you enjoy what we're doing here, show us some love. Scroll down, give us a comment, give us a share, give us a shout, give us some feedback about what we're doing. We want to serve you. We're here to serve you, to help you and your animals. Also, remember to get your quick start to Animal Talk free course. Get you started on the animaltalkcoachingclub.com site. It'll teach you 3 guiding principles every student should know, and 3 steps, easy steps to send a message to an animal. And I think we're good. So that's all I have today. Anne, anything else you want to say?
I just thank you so much. I'm so happy to be on the show, and I think it's just wonderful what you're doing. So everybody out there, spread the word and
Yeah.
talk about talking to animals.
Yeah, I like it. Talk about talking to animals. All right, I love it. All right, so may the love of animals bless you, heal you, inspire you, and reconnect you to the circle of life. We love you. Thank you. Thank you for your love of animals. Until next time, see you later. Thanks, Anne.